Hi, my beauties. I am currently on my birthday weekend trip and we are in Europe and have been just traveling about, and I figured that it would be a good video topic to talk about skincare and how to adapt your skincare regimen to travel, because just kind of things that I've done on my trip to kind of accommodate the changes in the temperature, the weather, exposures that my skin is being exposed to, and different foods that I'm eating, and different climates and environments, including the plane ride over here. Just some of the tricks of the trade and some dermatologist tips for you guys when you do travel and how to pack accordingly with your skincare regimen. Especially if you're going to different climates. We were just in Ibiza, Spain this morning, and we just landed in Amsterdam, and then we're gonna be going to Italy in about 3 or 4 days. So there's different climate changes, and I've brought a skincare regimen to kind of accommodate those changes, and we'll tell you the most important tips when you are traveling. Of course, sunscreen is number one. Even if you're traveling in an area where it's not very sunny or doesn't have a very high UV index, sometimes just the altitude alone can increase the potency of UVA1, UVA2, and UVB rays. So it's always important to wear sunscreen no matter where you're traveling and no matter what time of year. And also during your plane ride on the flight, it's really important to wear sunscreen as well, even if you're not sitting next to a window seat, because the atmosphere and the altitude increases the potency of ultraviolet light and radiation. So it's really important to not only apply your sunscreen before you leave on your vacation, but also reapply throughout your plane trip, especially if you're like leaving really early in the morning where it may be dark, or you're going to be, kind of going through day and night changes. Even if it's not sunny, it's always good to be protected to have your sunscreen on, so when you do land and if it is daylight, you're prepared. So I think one of the most important aspects of skincare during travel is the flight and the plane, because the humidity in the air, in the air humidity in the chamber and the pressure in the cabin drops dramatically, and that can disrupt your skin barrier, and it can allow transepidermal water loss, which is leaching of moisture out of the skin at a more rapid accelerated rate, which makes your skin look dry, itchy, flaky. If you have any dermatologic conditions like eczema or psoriasis or any inflammatory dermatoses, it can make it worse. So it's really important to have a healthy skin barrier going into the trip. So I always bring my NMF hydrator, my MDR skincare line that reinforces that skincare barrier with natural moisturization factors. But you could use any moisturizer or hydrator that has ceramides and has natural moisturization factors, which we call in dermatology NMFs, to reinforce that barrier to keep this skin hydration within the dermis of the skin. So that's really, really important. Also, hydration status, not only while you're on the plane, but before, maybe 12 to 24 hours before your plane ride, try to double up on your water intake. Usually I drink 2 liters of water a day. Now I'm like 98 pounds, so I'm not that big, but somebody bigger, like my fiance is 6'4", he's just, downs a bunch of water before going on the flight. And of course he drinks a lot more than I do, but just kind of up-regulate your water intake before going on the flight. And that will help maintain your fluid status from within. And by reinforcing the skin barrier, it will help decrease the transepidermal water loss, which will also keep water into the skin. So that's something that I do on my trip every time I fly. I also have a good chapstick and a good eye serum, because not only do you want your barrier protected on your face, neck, and chest, and your hands and other areas of your body as well, but you want to maintain your mucosal membranes with adequate hydration as well. So I use my MDR lip peptide mask. You could use any chapstick or lip mask of your choice, but it's really important to keep reapplying throughout the plane ride as well. And the under eyes, you guys know I'm obsessed with the under eye area. I have been since I was like in high school. I've always been very keen on keeping my under eye area hydrated, nice and smooth and tight, because it's the first area to show our age, because that skin, the epidermis and the dermis, is very thin in that area, and any small change with collagen loss or barrier disruption or transepidermal water loss, leaching skin water out of the skin, can really make the under eye seem like wrinkled and weathered and just dry and crepey. So if you want to get a good eye serum, of course my MDR ECM eye serum is one of my favorites. If you want to just cut costs and not not spend a lot of money on technology or active ingredients in a skincare line and just want to use straight up Aquaphor or Vaseline, that's better than anything as well, or better than nothing as well, because if you reapply your under eye, like say your Vaseline or Aquaphor under your eyes, around your mouth, sometimes even within like the nares around the nose, that will help decrease viruses binding, with the recirculated air in the cabin of the plane, that will help decrease, viruses binding and will help prevent infection too. So I think that that's one of the most important components when traveling, is to just maintain your hydration status, reinforce your barrier, and then also for your mucosal membranes for under the eyes, for the lips, you want to maintain hydration with some emulsion or occlusion or some type of lip peptide mask, or even Aquaphor if you want to save your money and just stick to drugstore choices. Now, depending on if you're going to a humid climate or an arid or drier climate, you may want to adjust some of your active ingredients, including exfoliators, AHAs, BHAs, and say for example, retinol or retinoid or vitamin A derivatives. Those are going to dry out the skin and cause a little bit more irritation if you're in an arid environment. An arid environment, I mean, with not a lot of moisture or humidity in the atmosphere. So if you're going into the mountains, or if you're going into a climate where it's very dry, you're going to probably want to decrease your use of exfoliants, alpha hydroxy acids like glycolic acid, lactic acid, and also your beta hydroxy acids like salicylic acid, because skin's going to get a little bit more irritated. Now, if you're going into a more humid climate, you're going to want to double up on your cleansers, maybe even a double or triple cleanse if necessary. Of course, you're going to be wearing a lot of sunscreen with layering and layering upon of sunscreen, so you're going to want to maybe use a double cleanse or just a cleanser that's very effective to kind of debride all those layers of skincare off your because you're going to want to debride all those layers of skincare that you may be layering on in a hot and humid environment. With increased sebum production and increased, oil and exfoliation of the skin, you're going to want probably an extra exfoliant, maybe twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. Sometimes people use it every day. I personally use an exfoliating polish every day, or my exfoliating cloud polish by MDR every day when I'm in a hot, humid environment, just to kind of counteract the excess sebum production and increased cellular turnover that your skin may endure during a hot and humid climate exposure. But if you're in a drier environment, you probably won't need to double or triple cleanse. And again, in a more dry environment, you're going to want to reinforce that barrier more. Humid environments, you're going to probably want a better cleanser. And then also, it will be more important to have some type of melanocyte inhibitor. So whether that's vitamin C, if it's a hydroquinone or a non-hydroquinone brightener, when you're in a hot environment, not only with UV exposure, but just the heat can upregulate melanin synthesis by the melanocytes, which are the pigment producing cells. So a lot of people will think that, oh, if I'm going to Hawaii, or if I'm going to the Caribbean, or if I'm going somewhere where it's going to be sunny or warm, I'll just expose my skin, and then when I come home, I'll kind of bleach or lighten up the brown spots or the melasma or the patchy hyperpigmentation later. But it's actually most important to, while your skin cells are being stimulated, whether it's by heat or UV light or whatever exposure is going to upregulate that melanin synthesis that's going to induce melasma, once you suppress those melanocytes in that environment, it's a lot more effective to prevent it from hyperpigmenting than to let it hyperpigment and to erase it later. So usually if I'm going, and I struggle with melasma, my melasma is usually on my forehead, I get it kind of on the sides of my face, and unfortunately, some people get it like on their upper lip. It could be like, look like a mustache, unfortunately. Sometimes people get it on the neck, but it's most important to use some type of vitamin C or non-hydroquinone or hydroquinone skin brightener while you're in that environment to protect your upregulation of melanin synthesis from those inducing stressors or factors that your skin's exposed to. And most important, try to stick to your regimen. I know if you are following me and following other dermatologists, you're obviously hypervigilant about your skin and skin health, which is why we're friends. That's why we're family. We're both obsessed with skin, and you guys, get it, because I'm the same way. And when I pack for a trip, my suitcase is probably more packed full of skincare and actives and, different skincare ingredients and skincare products and sunscreens and not so much makeup, but my products take up just as much space in my suitcase as my dresses and my swimsuits. So, you know, a lot goes into packing, but you know, your skin is, you know, the largest organ and the one that's most visible, and your skin is the outward representation of your internal health. So you have to take care of it, meaning you're not going to throw in a bunch of cute dresses in your suitcase and then just let your skin, you know, not be taken care of. So I always think it's good to be methodical. Usually when I go for a trip, I'm checking the weather of where I'm going, and I kind of pack my skincare actives and kind of set them aside in my bathroom accordingly. So I'm not like last minute thinking of it and just throwing it in a suitcase, because I know I'm gonna forget something. So I think that's also important too. Sometimes I'll make notes in my phone and just make sure that I have all my skincare actives that I anticipate and want to take with me. Also, sometimes you get little trade side samples of skincare products, and you can also get them at the drugstore if you don't have any of the type of brand or line you use. You can always get, you know, like at Rite Aid or CVS or even off Amazon, little pots or containers, and just do a couple pumps. Usually a skincare ingredient is 1 pump to distribute over the whole face. So, you know, you're gonna be there for a week, you do 7 pumps, you're gonna be there for a week and using it twice a day, you do 14 pumps and so forth. So I think really be like methodical about it, because not many people who are interested in skin health and want glowy, dewy, perfect skin, especially on vacation, will put the time and effort to, you know, to pack into you know, really prepare for their trips. And it does make a difference, because I should show you guys my skin. If I don't stick with my regimen when I'm on vacation, you wouldn't want to see. I would have melasma, I would have acne, I'd be a hot mess. But even we've been traveling for the last week, kind of bouncing around through Europe, and my skin has maintained itself despite the different environments that I've been in and different dietary changes that I have exposed my body to. Now, also while on vacation, you may be having dietary changes that your body or your skin is not used to. Foods with maybe a higher glycemic index if you're at a patisserie in Paris or in France, or maybe milk-based products or dairy products that your skin's not used to, and this may cause an induction of inflammatory dermatoses like acne, for example, or seborrheic dermatitis or rosacea. So it's really important to, if you're going to indulge in those things, just kind of make those accommodations and know your skin, still live your life, experience a culture and have a good time and eat what you want to. Of course, you're on vacation, but just know that what those triggers are, maybe you want to be prepared and bring something to kind of mitigate or treat that problem. For example, say you have rosacea and say you don't usually drink alcohol. Sorry, there's like birds chirping. It's actually a very beautiful scenery here, but there's loud, aggressive birds here that are really, really cute, but they're a little bit noisy, so I apologize for that. But if you say you have rosacea, for example, and you don't usually drink wine or alcohol, and you go on a trip and you are drinking more alcohol, just make sure that you're using, say, vitamin C, or if you have even prescription topicals like metronidazole or metrozel or Rosatrol or cilantro, whatever you use, maybe bring that with you on the trip, knowing what your skin has a tendency towards. Example, eczema. Say you have eczematous dermatitis, or you're more prone to atopic dermatitis, and you're gonna go skiing in the Alps, or you're gonna go snowboarding or out into the mountains, or in a dry climate that's going to leach the skin of the internal moisture, you're gonna probably wanna bring an extra layer of emollients, like even Aquaphor or Vaseline, to kind of put on those eczematous prone areas of your skin, because you know what your skin has a tendency towards. And if you're gonna be introducing it to trap factors or triggers for those types of skin disease, that you're gonna want to kind of bring medication or skincare actives, or even just over the counters that are going to kind of counteract those triggers, so that you're prepared and staying ahead of the skin issues instead of letting them happen and treating them later. It's a lot easier to keep good control of healthy skin. Last but not least, always wash your face before going to bed. Sometimes when you're out and about, we were in Ibiza, Spain, and we had a couple late nights, and I always came home and I washed my face no matter how dead tired I was, and did my full skincare regimen. Also, after a long trip and traveling on the airplane, I'd bring my skincare with me, and I would wash my face and I would do my nighttime routine on the plane. So it takes a lot of work, but you know, anything in life that's good takes a little bit of extra work. And like I said, just like you take care of your health and your overall wellness with exercising, going to the gym, sleep hygiene, your skin is no different. And what you put into it, you get out of it. And healthy skin just comes from within and comes from happy skin cells that are functioning optimally. And so that's why it is so important to maintain overall skin health, regardless of if you're home or you're traveling or you're hopping around different places in the world. It's really, really important. And so always remember to wash your face twice a day, do your routine. And if you guys have any questions or want to share suggestions or experiences in the comment section, I'd be happy to hear it. And also let me know what you guys want to hear about next week in next week's video. All right, love you guys. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a comment in the comment section and share this video with someone who may find it useful. As always, I love you guys.